if you have already passed the age of 60. Have you ever found yourself waking up multiple times in the middle of the night just to use the restroom? Then lying awake for hours, unable to fall back asleep. According to reports from the National Institute on Aging, over 70% of men over 60 experience issues related to the prostate without even realizing it. Many believe that it is simply a normal part of aging. However, behind those moments of incomplete urination, a weak urine stream, or the feeling of heaviness in the lower abdomen, there is actually a quiet warning from the body. As a specialist in men's health for older adults, today I would like to have a gentle conversation with you. This is not meant to cause worry, but to help us understand better, because there are things that may seem small, such as holding in urine or drinking too much coffee, that are quietly harming our prostate day by day. In today's video, I will help you gain clearer insight into these silent signs, the real underlying causes, and how to care for your prostate in a natural, scientific, and sustainable way. Which country are you watching this video from? Please leave a comment below. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you will not miss out on important health information for your golden years. In your 20s or 30s, the prostate in a man's body usually functions quietly. Most people hardly even notice its existence. However, once a man reaches the age of 60, many suddenly realize that this small gland located right below the bladder can have a major impact on daily life. It can affect everything from sleep to mood, from the feeling of lightness each morning to overall vitality in later years. So why is the prostate so prone to issues after the age of 60? First, it is important to understand that the prostate plays a role in producing a special type of fluid that helps nourish and protect sperm during the male physiological process. When we are young, the prostate maintains a stable size and soft texture about the size of a walnut. But as male hormones, especially testosterone, begin to decrease over time, the structure of prostate cells gradually changes. According to the National Institute on Aging, the phenomenon of benign prostatic hyperplasia (BPH) occurs in more than 60% of men over 60. This is part of the natural aging process. However, that does not mean we should simply accept it as inevitable. As the prostate enlarges, it begins to press against the urethra, which is the pathway for urine to leave the body. This explains why many people over 60 often feel the urge to urinate frequently, but do not feel completely relieved, or they have to wake up several times at night just to use the restroom. In addition, after many years of habits such as sitting for long periods, drinking too little water, and having an unbalanced diet, mild inflammation around the prostate can easily develop and quietly progress. One important thing to remember is that the prostate does not suddenly enlarge overnight. It is the result of gradual changes in hormones combined with unhealthy lifestyle habits accumulated over decades. Understanding this root cause is the first step for each person to actively care, prevent, and maintain a healthy prostate at any age. So what specific signs show that the prostate is sending out a call for help? It is unfortunate that many men over the age of 60 only visit a doctor when their condition has become severe, when urination becomes extremely difficult, or even when they can no longer control it. But in reality, prostate issues never appear suddenly. Before that happens, the body has already sent out small signs, like gentle whispers of reminder, yet many people simply do not pay attention. So, what are these silent signs? First, a weak or interrupted urine stream. If in the past urination was quick and steady, but now it suddenly becomes slow, requiring a wait before it begins. or the stream stops midway and then resumes. That is a typical sign. Second, the constant feeling of needing to urinate, yet the amount of urine is very small. Many people mistakenly think it is due to drinking too much water. In fact, the bladder is not completely empty because it is being pressed by the prostate. Third, the feeling of incomplete urination, as if after using the restroom, there is an immediate urge to go again. There is a dull discomfort in the lower abdomen, as though something has not been fully released. Fourth, leakage after finishing urination. This means that after standing up and pulling up your pants, a few unexpected drops still come out. This is something many people feel embarrassed about, but it is actually very common when the prostate has started to enlarge. Fifth, waking up multiple times at night to urinate. If in the past you slept through the night until morning, now you may find yourself waking up every few hours just to go to the restroom, even 3 or 4 times a night. This disrupts sleep and lowers mental clarity during the day. Sixth, a feeling of heaviness or tightness in the lower abdomen, especially after sitting for a long time. This happens when the bladder has to work harder to overcome the pressure from the prostate. Seventh, when urination becomes so difficult that you have to strain or even feel a slight pain when urinating, that is when the condition has become quite serious. The important thing is not to see these signs as just normal parts of getting older, and they are gentle warnings from the body that the prostate needs proper care and attention. So, what are the common habits that silently make this condition worse every day? There is a habit that seems harmless but is unconsciously repeated by many men over the age of 60. That habit is holding in urine. Some do it because they are busy or feel reluctant to get up while watching television or reading a book. Others avoid using public restrooms, especially as the body becomes slower with age. However, very few realize that this small habit is actually one of the persistent and silent causes of damage to the prostate. When you hold in urine, the bladder has to stretch to retain the increasing amount of stored urine. At that moment, the pressure inside the bladder rises, and the bladder muscles must work harder to maintain control. According to the American Urological Association, holding in urine for extended periods causes the bladder to gradually lose its natural elasticity. It becomes weaker and struggles to empty completely over time. More importantly, for those who already show signs of prostate enlargement, the urethra is already narrowed. Now it must endure additional pressure from the swollen bladder, making the compression even more severe. When urine is held too long, the concentration of waste substances in it also increases. This can irritate the urinary lining and raise the risk of mild inflammation around the prostate area. This process happens quietly, without obvious pain. But day by day, it accumulates into a serious problem. Especially in older adults, the immune system is no longer as responsive as before, and the ability to fight off inflammatory agents gradually weakens. That is why listening to the body's natural signals is one of the simplest ways to protect male vitality and urinary health in later years. Do not force yourself to endure discomfort. Do not delay, whether you are in a meeting or relaxing. Always prioritize using the restroom when you feel the need. That seemingly small action is actually the foundation for maintaining balance, keeping the prostate in a stable condition, and avoiding unnecessary complications. However, holding in urine is only one part inside the body. There is another silent factor that also contributes to worsening prostate enlargement. That is the hidden inflammation that many people do not even realize exists in the human body whenever any part is damaged or under excessive stress. The immune system immediately responds by sending anti-inflammatory cells to that area to repair and protect it. However, when this response lasts too long or happens repeatedly, it becomes a double-edged sword, quietly harming the very area it is meant to protect. The same is true for the prostate. According to experts from the National Institute on Aging, silent inflammation around the prostate is one of the main reasons why this gland continues to enlarge. After the age of 60, this process starts from very small irritations, such as bladder strain, urine remaining in the bladder for too long, or even simply due to poor blood circulation in the pelvic area. When that happens, the immune system releases mediators such as cytokines and growth factors with the goal of healing, but ironically, these very substances stimulate prostate cells to multiply. Over time, new tissue layers form on top of old ones, causing the prostate to thicken layer by layer, pressing more and more on the urinary tract, especially in older men. Hormonal changes, such as a drop in testosterone, make the internal environment of cells more prone to imbalance, increasing the likelihood of prolonged mild inflammation. It is important to note that in its early stages, prostate inflammation is very difficult to detect. There is no fever, no sharp pain, only a feeling of heaviness in the lower abdomen, and sometimes prolonged weak or hesitant urination. Because the signs are not obvious, many people ignore them, allowing the inflammation to quietly continue. Over time, inflammation does not stop at the prostate, but also spreads to surrounding tissues such as the bladder neck or urethra, making nighttime urination and weak urination even more severe. That is why, in healthcare protocols for men's vitality in later years, controlling inflammation is considered the most important key to preventing prostate enlargement. It is not just about taking medicine. It also requires changing daily habits, adjusting diet, and practicing gentle, regular exercise. But beyond inflammation, there are still other lifestyle habits that may seem harmless, yet are quietly making the prostate weaker each day without most people realizing it. In everyday life, there are small habits that may seem harmless, but quietly damage the prostate day by day, causing men's vitality after the age of 60 to decline without many people noticing. The first habit is consuming too much caffeine. Morning coffee or a strong cup of tea after meals has become a favorite for many. However, caffeine is a substance that easily irritates the bladder and increases pressure on the prostate. When caffeine intake exceeds the body's needs, the prostate, which is already sensitive due to aging, becomes even more prone to irritation. This leads to nighttime urination and the constant feeling of needing to urinate even when there is little urine. The second habit is sitting for too long and avoiding physical activity. Sitting for extended periods leads to poor blood circulation, especially in the pelvic area. This causes fluid stagnation and creates conditions for inflammation to occur around the prostate. According to urology experts in the United States, simply maintaining the habit of light walking or stretching every hour while sitting can help protect the prostate more effectively. The third habit is following a diet high in unhealthy fats and refined sugar. Fatty meats, fried foods, and sweet candies not only affect heart health, but also contribute to increasing systemic inflammation. This makes the prostate more likely to enlarge. Choosing foods rich in anti-inflammatory properties such as green vegetables, fatty fish, and olive oil is the solution to help balance hormones in later years and maintain stable vitality. Finally, the habit of drinking too little water out of fear of urinating frequently is a common mistake. Many people avoid drinking water to prevent nighttime urination, but in reality, this causes urine to become concentrated, which easily irritates and causes mild inflammation around the prostate. Drinking enough water helps clean the urinary system and reduces the risk of prolonged inflammation. Recognizing and adjusting these 4 small habits is a solid foundation for keeping the prostate healthy in the long term. But if timely changes are not made, the condition may lead to an even more dangerous complication that many older adults often face. In the stories I have heard from older patients, there is one thing that repeats often and always makes me concerned. Many people only seek help from a doctor when they can no longer urinate on their own. This is not a rare occurrence. It is the result of a quiet process that has lasted for many years, called chronic urine retention. When the prostate enlarges, the urinary pathway becomes narrower. The bladder has to strain harder to push urine out. At first, even though it is difficult, the body still tries to adapt. But at some point, when the amount of remaining urine becomes too much and cannot be fully released, the bladder begins to stretch beyond its normal capacity. According to experts from the American Urological Association, a normal bladder holds about 400 to 500 milliliters of urine. But with chronic urine retention, this volume can double or even triple. As a result, the bladder muscles become overstretched and gradually lose their natural ability to contract. At that point, even if the person feels a strong urge to urinate, only a few drops come out. Or worse, nothing comes out at all. This condition not only causes discomfort, but also leads to risks such as urinary tract infections, weakened bladder function, and even urine flowing back up into the kidneys, causing kidney damage. I still clearly remember the story of Mr. Michael, 70 years old, living in California. For many years, he often held in urine because he did not want to stand up while working. Combined with the habit of drinking very little water, one day he felt severe tightness in the lower abdomen and was unable to urinate despite feeling a strong urge. When he was admitted to the hospital, doctors found that his bladder had become overly distended and required emergency catheterization. That is a typical example of the consequences of allowing chronic urine retention to continue without timely intervention. That is why urology specialists always emphasize that regular checkups and early recognition of abnormal signs are the simplest ways to avoid these dangerous complications. So, how can we protect the prostate every day, starting right now? Maintaining men's vitality after the age of 60 does not require complicated or expensive methods. Sometimes it simply starts with the smallest actions that each person can easily do right at home. The first step is to urinate regularly and never hold in urine for too long. When you feel the urge to urinate, take the time to go to the restroom immediately, whether you are working or resting. Holding in urine for extended periods puts unnecessary pressure on the bladder and prostate, increasing the risk of inflammation and reduced urinary function. Next is to maintain gentle pelvic floor exercises by practicing Kegel exercises every day. This exercise is so simple that it can be done even while sitting or lying down. You only need to tighten the muscles, as if trying to stop the flow of urine. Hold for a few seconds. Then relax, repeating 10 to 15 times. This habit helps increase control over the urine stream, reduce leakage, and protect long-term urinary function. An essential factor is maintaining a balanced diet, focusing on foods rich in natural anti-inflammatory properties such as tomatoes, spinach, fatty fish, and various nuts. The nutrients from dark green vegetables and healthy plant oils such as olive oil help calm the immune system, support stable hormone levels in later years, and reduce silent inflammation around the prostate. Last but not least, make sure to drink enough water every day. Even though there may be concerns about urinating frequently, drinking too little water causes the urine to become more concentrated, which easily leads to irritation and inflammation. Maintaining these small daily habits is the solid foundation for keeping the prostate healthy, preserving men's vitality in older age, and minimizing the risk of serious urinary issues. So, what specific benefits does regular checkup bring? Many people only think about visiting the doctor when their body is already facing serious problems. However, when it comes to the prostate, regular checkups after the age of 50 are the key to maintaining lasting vitality and stable urinary health over the long term. According to urology experts in the United States, having regular checkups every 6 months to 1 year helps detect even the smallest changes in prostate size, inflammation levels, or early signs of urinary function abnormalities. Thanks to this, early intervention becomes much simpler and gentler compared to when the condition has already progressed to a more complicated stage. In addition, regular checkups are also an opportunity to receive specific advice regarding diet and daily habits that best suit each person's individual health condition, taking the initiative to get checked rather than waiting until it is too late is truly the greatest gift you can give yourself and your family. As we reach the end of today's journey, we have taken a complete look at the overall picture of men's vitality after the age of 60. From the root causes that make the prostate more likely to face problems, to the silent signs that the body quietly sends as gentle reminders. More importantly, we have realized that small daily habits such as holding in urine, consuming too much coffee, sitting for long periods, or drinking too little water are all factors that quietly weaken the prostate day by day. Instead of waiting for serious complications like chronic urine retention or needing complex medical interventions, each person can take the initiative to protect their health through the simplest actions: urinating on time, practicing Kegel exercises regularly, maintaining a healthy diet, and drinking enough water are the 4 golden keys to keeping the prostate healthy in the long term. At the same time, it is essential not to overlook regular checkups with a specialist after the age of 50 to detect even the smallest changes before they become major issues. Just by starting with one small action each day, you have already created a meaningful difference for yourself and your loved ones. If you found today's content helpful, do not forget to subscribe to the channel to continue joining us in future videos about diet, exercise, and herbal support for senior health. Which of these habits are you currently practicing? Please leave a comment below. I always listen and appreciate every share to continue bringing you the most practical and meaningful content